Hi, this is Susan Carlson, and welcome to my studio. People always ask me, how do I choose my fabrics? And sometimes it's because of a theme. And that theme can be something quite obvious, or maybe it's just something that's kind of fun, such as polka dots. Now, what you're looking at is my quilt, Polka Dodo. It's a dodo bird that is made with all polka dot fabrics. It came to mind as I was looking at my fabrics. I saw a few polka dots in my stash, and the two words came together. Polka Dodo was completed 13 years ago. And when we wanted to update the blog post, the quilt stories, I wanted to pull some of the fabrics that I had used. Now, I've added a lot more fabric in those 13 years, but I did find a few things for the body and then for some of the detail work too. Regardless of your subject matter or your theme, you still want to have a nice range of values in your fabrics. And having the value range will help you create form in your subject matter. So here are some light fabrics that will lend themselves well to highlights in the fabric, in the subject matter. And now here it kind of moves into some of the middle range values. This fabric actually goes dark to light, so I can kind of use that as a little bit of a blender. And then these go into the darker values, which will be the shadowed areas of my subject, again helping to create that form. When I first started thinking about using fabrics with dots in them, I automatically thought of Australian Aboriginal fabrics. And these have wonderful dots in them, the designs, but in the end it really turned out that I just used them in a few places, and the most obvious ones were in the background actually. Now if you look up here, this fabric was used for the border up on top, and then over to the side I used this fabric here. So I found this, to me, it was nice, long verticals, and it kind of had that border sort of idea. It made a nice edge, and I picked an area, there we go, right in there, that matches that right in there, and I cut along the design, and so then that design kind of worked into the background area in a nice way. And I did a similar bit on the other side. And then down here, it was kind of, to me, this was kind of like a landscape, kind of a very abstract landscape behind the bird. And I took some of this fabric and again cut along the design to just because it was so interesting. And then also it helped merge, especially down into this way when it kind of became more of a grassy sort of area. And you can see there's another Australian Aboriginal print, which I can't find anymore. It may have been used up in the last 13 years, but that was a really fun one to use as well. So in most of my quilts, one of the final touches that I give or I consider is adding sheer fabrics. And they come dark, they come light, they come sparkle, and they come with polka dots on them. And adding these sheer fabrics, I think, made a really big difference in the final look and personality of Polka Dodo. So one thing I'm going to point out right away, because it's one of the questions that I probably most often get asked as far as the whole quilt goes, is how did I do the shadow underneath the bird? And that's done with one piece of netting. Here's the netting that I used. And let's put it right against there. You can see that it's got polka dots in it, of course. And one piece of that just went over the background. I tucked it underneath his feet, and it gave a beautiful little shadow. All right, so let's just keep moving up on this bird. Under the light colored wing, there's a lot of shadow. And I used a lot of these black netting and tulle sorts of fabrics to go over the existing fabric pieces to add more detail, more shadow to different areas. Now we've got this one here. This has got some great little purple polka dots, and you can see them showing up right in here. It's actually more of an organza, so it's more, it's a little more opaque than some of these other things I'm going to be showing you, but it adds a really nice dark shadow underneath that wing to help bring out that contrast and that value change. Now let's see, look over, let's see what I got coming next. Over here in the tail, let's jump over to that. This one here, a little bit of kind of an iridescent silvery sparkle. That again added nice contrast so that some of those feathers are receding and letting some of the lighter feathers come forward. Again, giving form to it. Up here in the back of his back recedes, it would get a little darker. So I used actually a little bit of this here, got some great sparkle in it, and you can see that, you know, helped recede as form is going away from you, you want it to get a little darker, so that helps, again, give him a little form, let some of this brighter stuff come forward. This one is one of my all-time favorite pieces of tulle. It's a finer netting called tulle, so you can see it doesn't make a huge difference as far as shadowing or value change, but it was just what I needed to kind of give a really nice definition to his lower beak, separating it from that upper beak. And over here you can see it added a little more interest. This is the fabric that's right there under his neck, and by itself, you know, it's a pretty little polka dot, but when you put something on top of it like this, it adds another layer and it kind of randomizes the polka dots, so it's not, you know, as regular looking. And then the last thing I want to point out as far as these dark valued sheer fabrics go is this one has just a little bit of sparkle in it. Again, it's another favorite. And I put that right up here to add a little sparkle on top of his beak, like, you know, some sunlight is hitting. And you can see there's also some other sparkle fabrics that are also added. And those golden sparkles are on the top to help bring the highlights out and let the darks recede. Netting and tulle also comes in white or other light colors, and they can help add a little extra highlight or light value to an area, such as the top of the head. Here's white on white, like this one here. This is another flocked, a wonderful little flocked spots, polka dots. And then here now is some iridescent polka dots that I've used here on the neck, and then working its way back around into the highlights of his back. All right, so that's just a few of the fabrics that I used in the creation of Polka Dodo. I know that it was over 100 different fabrics, but it was really kind of fun pulling out some of these old friends and reminiscing a little bit.